Let's get after it. There you go.
Welcome to the Gold Medal Excellence Podcast. I'm your host, Alexander Payne, along with my co-host, Chris Asher. And today on the program, we're joined by Brent Pourciau. Brent, thanks for coming on the program.
Thanks, man. Thank you, Alexander. I'm excited to be on. Nice. Looking forward to meeting Chris, right? It's Christopher.
Yeah, Brent, thanks for being on there. I'm just going to look at your name. I got a lot of friends and family in Louisiana. It looks you look a little Cajun. You look a Bayou style, right?
Yeah.
So where are you at? Where are you at? Just so I know, like I gotta go to New Orleans beginning of next month for a wedding. Marcus Cromartie, former NFL player.
Yeah, we're on the North Shore, so across the Lake Pontchartrain. So we're in a town called Covington, about 45 minutes an hour away from New Orleans. So
when you go across that big bridge where you can't turn around.
Yes, you're right. I go to New Orleans all the time. I mean, I was born there. But we moved over here when I was young. It's a little more, this is the rural life. This is a little more laid back over here.
Yeah.
In New Orleans, so.
I got lots of friends and family from New Orleans. My sister is born and raised in LA. I have no idea, but they're Saints fans. And they're like, we love the Saints. I'm like, where did this come from?
I feel like it's probably the only state where everybody likes the same team.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. LSU, the Saints. Come on. So.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's cool. Where are you from, Chris?
I'm born and raised in Los Angeles, California, Inglewood, California. Glad to have you on here. I know Alexander's got some questions, but he shared me some of the
We
stuff.
got a Compton boy in here. Hey,
Okay.
Josh, come over here.
There we go.
We got a Compton boy in here right now.
There we go.
Hey, come say hi. Hurry up. I mean, you don't get a lot of Compton boys in Louisiana, so I'll introduce them. Hey, they're from LA. This is Josh. He's from Compton. Tell him where you're from.
Well, where I'm from?
Yeah, where in Compton?
Where you from in Compton, Josh?
Well, I play at I used to play at Compton. I don't live in Compton.
Okay.
Oh, where you live now?
I live in Echo Park, Dodge Stadium.
Oh, you live right by me. I live
on Alvarado Street.
Oh man, brother, listen. I live in Lincoln Heights. I live in Lincoln Heights, right off the 5 freeway, Figueroa.
Like where Lincoln High School is?
Yes, I live right by Dodger Stadium, maybe half a mile.
Yeah,
I just went to the Dodger game 2 nights ago, Mookie Betts bobblehead night.
Oh, you went to that one? I
went to that one. I got a bobblehead. Look, I had to get there early to get this. This
Dude,
was
that's sweet. That's sweet.
So,
but yeah, I don't have many LA boys, but this is an LA boy. So
awesome.
Well, cool.
Yeah,
man.
so just. I've had some Southern Cal guys in my area who have actually flown out to your facility to train. Like we talked about Max Melbaum on the last podcast. He actually trained with Chris along with myself. And then I was doing workout with Chris, with Max, actually. Max had just mentioned that he had just flown to New Orleans and just worked out in your program, and he really raved about the experience. So that was definitely how I heard about you, and I knew that you were a real prominent biomechanics expert in pitching and hitting. So yeah, definitely it's really nice how we have all these different connections that word of mouth can really spread.
Yeah, definitely, man. We did I posted that little clip on your last podcast and it really took off. I think it hit a nerve with, the culture of baseball here in America and how different we are from the international cultures and the kind of the competitiveness of all of it,
Yeah. I'll be honest, Brent. I saw a little clip. Alexander just showed me yesterday. We interviewed some people this morning, and he showed me. But we've been talking about baseball, and just so you know, like for me, so here's my background for you. I was a college track and field coach over 20 years, almost 30 years now. I was head coach at Cal State LA. I coached at UCLA. I coached at San Jose State. I coached at Cal State Fullerton. But my connection to baseball, what I tell people, besides being a fan and growing up in Los Angeles with the players during my time, was I first started coaching at Cal State Fullerton. And when I was coaching there, I was a track coach, and all the Fullerton, at the time, Horton and Vanderhook and all those guys were there. and they would say, "Hey, Chris, man, our baseball guys at the time, Fullerton was really good. They won the College World Series and all that. But long story short, they'd say, Chris, we need you to train these guys for speed work. They can't run. If they can't run, they're not going to get drafted." So that's how I really got in deep with in the sports performance area and training baseball players. And then I just kind of fully went private like you. I just kind of stepped away from collegiate. And I've trained 2 or 3 first-round draft picks in baseball and multiple first-round draft picks in speed development and college guys, et cetera. So they're very, seeing what you're doing, I definitely know what it is, and I'm just excited about hearing from you.
It's great. It's it's great to hear your history. I like how you went private. I think you have a lot more freedom when you work privately. I mean,
Absolutely.
Right, you got to work harder.
Yep, it's a lot more of a challenge. I tell people you get no free days off.
No. 1 second. Hey, kill that fan, can you? Yeah, I mean, running your own business is a whole other. I mean, that in itself is time consuming, and then trying to be a good coach on top of that. That's the challenge,
Absolutely.
And I worked. I mean, I started right out of the gate doing it privately after my career, and I kind of took, because I tore my rotator cuff at 18, and I had to learn all this to get my body back, and I did, and I got, I threw a stone harder than ever thrown before, and I played pro ball, and I played any ball through California back in the day when they had the Golden League.
Oh yeah,
we had a Fullerton Flyers.
Long Beach had a team. I remember Long Beach, Fullerton had a team. Yeah,
I played in that league. I loved that league. And but when I started doing it after that, coaching wise, I used the internet. The internet was a great tool to get the word out, get my message out, get my method out. And I just kept researching it. And I went more the scholarly route. I went and got my master's in kinesiology, finishing my my PhD in sports science. And
congratulations.
Thank you. And I like this. I like the evidence-based side of it. Like I really enjoy it. I enjoy learning a more scientific, medical approach to it than and getting away from the theories of coaches. It's at this point, it's just so annoying when you have to be around coaches that have no background or no studies and evidence. It's hard to be around them. Yep. I just don't think it's acceptable anymore in today's game. I think people really need to use all this great evidence and technology that exists today. And now with AI, I think it's going to really make those guys look like dinosaurs. So that's where I stayed in, and I wanted to stay on that side. And I did. I wanted to work in Major League Baseball, but once again, I didn't really enjoy it. I didn't like the corporate pressure or the corporate. I had to fit the box. Yeah, the politics. I didn't really. I'm not someone who likes going in a box. I guess being from Louisiana, we don't fit in with the rest of the country here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's where we have similar backgrounds. Yeah, I'm curious to get to know you more. So,
no, absolutely.
Yeah. So for this topic, we were talking about one of the biggest problems in baseball, which is the decline of African Americans. There's been a huge drop in African American participation in baseball. Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier back in 1947, and the 1970s and even early 80s were very popular. A lot of Black players had really started in the game of baseball, but in the last few years, there's been a huge drop in African Americans participating in the game of baseball. So that is definitely one of the topics that I wanted to talk to both of you about why that has happened and then maybe solutions to fix that. So, Brent, just want to start with you. Any thoughts, initial thoughts, knee-jerk reactions on just the recent decline of African Americans in baseball?
Yeah, definitely. I did a great podcast a while back with with Marvin Freeman, who played in the big leagues for a long time with the Braves. A lot of people remember him with the Braves. Mm-hmm. And he works with the Urban League. And, we talked a lot about it. Also, the Urban League has now gotten big here with the Andre Dawson Classic down here in Louisiana. Mm-hmm. And, the South is a good town for, African-American, cultural understanding, because there's a lot of African Americans down here, and I grew up in those neighborhoods, and I grew up in those rec departments where I was on teams where I was one of 2 white guys. So I think I know the culture pretty well. I mean, I'm not an African American, obviously, but I think I know the culture pretty well. Just growing up down here, and I think it's a big deal. I was talking to Marvin the other day, and just hearing the statistic that this is the lowest amount of African Americans in Major League Baseball since 1955, and 1947 is when Jackie Robinson came into the game from the Negro leagues, and so to throw it back to 1955, that's got to be hard to hear for the African American culture.
I grew up in Inglewood, California. We've talked about in other podcasts. I grew up with Chili Davis, Ricky Henderson, Darryl Strawberry, Eric Day. I mean, stars. Yeah. Like when I was growing up as a kid, so the NFL is a monster now. We all know that. But when I was growing up, baseball was what you did. It was number one, at least in Los Angeles. The Dodgers were bigger than Lakers. It was like the Dodgers, USC football, the Lakers. And I've seen a decline of baseball. And from my standpoint, that's why I wanted to bring you on, because you were talking about the travel ball and the pay for play. And I talked to the parents now. But what I saw in the inner city that happened was, and I've talked to experts, drugs and crack and things like that came in inner city. It kind of destroyed the fields. And at least in Los Angeles or inner cities, there was nowhere to play. Then I talked to some other experts, and they said, the biggest deal that killed baseball in the African-American community was the cost of it, the equipment. They were like, and I said, well, wait, what about football? And they're like, yeah, but football, shoulder pads and this and that insurance. They're like, baseball, the bats, the mitts, the this, the that. And then you couldn't maintain the fields. But for me to grow up and seeing all those stars, Chili Davis, Eric Davis, I mean, they were the guys, and to see the numbers where they are now, there's something significantly wrong with the game, because I am African American, and you can't tell me the guys aren't out there to play. And that's why when I heard you, pay for play in this, because you can't go to these Dominican countries or Caribbean countries and all these other countries and they got players. And what I'm saying is I think we are missing you're missing a whole class of people that should be playing the game here. And part of me thinks it's protected as well. And I don't want to be controversial, but I've said to people, I've said this, the two sports are still controlled by whites or Caucasians. And I'm half white. My dad's white. It's hockey and baseball, and you don't want to give up those spots.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I think now, you have the mix of the Latin player, and then and then you have to distinguish the difference between the Latin African, and then the African American. You got to distinguish the difference.
Because we don't agree. We're like, oh, they're not black. Like, I hate to say that.
Right. And so when we're saying African, we're saying African American, and that's where the decline is. And that is sad, because some of the greats of the game, Hank Aaron, Ernie Banks.
Absolutely. Willie Mays.
Roy Campanella. Yeah. Bob Gibson. And then the younger guys, Griffey and Bonds. And, now you got Hunter Green. And I want to be fair to, how it works. And for example, if I go back to my personal experience, like I said, I grew up here in the rec departments in a suburb of New Orleans, and my football teams, I was a minority. My basketball teams, I was a minority amongst African Americans. But I never was a minority on my baseball teams. Never, but at a very young age. I'm 46. It was like that. So, but at the same time too, I know the African American culture is it's a smaller percentage of America than the Caucasian culture. So
absolutely,
I know I shouldn't expect it to be saying to me, to see the African American culture dominating two sports like football and baseball shows how athletically dominant they are. It's just, that's why I'm wondering, I believe there's an economic issue and all that. We definitely can go into that, but I wonder if it's also, are we just expecting too much? And I'm asking that question to you, Chris. Are we expecting too much of the African American culture to dominate all three sports?
No, not the good. So I'd say a couple of things. I'd say the things I said earlier about, what happened in inner city and things kind of killed the sport, and maybe we didn't come back. The second thing I'll say is it's been known, even when I came up, for some blacks, if you didn't grow up with it like me, it's a boring sport. It's slow. It's this, it's that. So there's other aspects that have made it, go away. But you said something very, what I'd say is powerful. You said I grew up and a lot of the guys on my baseball team were black, and I'll go look at a travel team or a high school team, and there's one or two black guys. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I know.
Now that's where, I get in this conversation. Like, you can't, like when the Dodgers won the World Series the COVID year, Mookie Betts was the only black guy in baseball in the World Series. That's incredible. So that's where I sit back and say something's going on and something's got to be fixed. So I'm glad the inner city stuff's going on. I've seen the the youth league. I've seen them coming back. But I just want to talk to because I've heard parents. I have parents. I private train like you, and I've heard parents say, "Man, it's hard to get in here. Like, these kids are connected. And it's kind of money ball." Like, I've heard it from parents, and some of these parents have good kids. I know when a kid is good. I'm not lying. I know when a kid is good. I know when a kid is an athlete, and I'm at least like, yo, that kid is more athletic than anybody. How come he's not getting a chance?
Very well said. I mean, I can keep going, AJ. I don't want to jump in anything.
And I don't want to keep saying, I don't want to make this like a race thing, but I'm saying, well, what can baseball do? Like, I thought the best thing I ever saw was Kyler Murray getting drafted by the A's, even though he went to football. Because I know the A's would have made him he'd probably be the next Ken Griffey. Obviously he's making a lot more football, but
well, so too, that's something you bring up. That's a great perspective. Is my era. I don't know how old you are, Chris, but my era.
I'm 48, so I'm right.
So we're the same age.
Right in front of you.
Yeah, you are. So our era, the multi-sport guys were African Americans. Dion, Bo.
Yeah, play baseball.
Yeah, Brian Jordan. They were all
Bo Jackson.
Bo, yeah. So the point is that what it takes? Do we have to popularize the multi-sport athlete again so we can get more African Americans into baseball? It's like, do we go over and we recruit from the NFL and get them in? Because Major League Baseball, I have to say they're trying. I mean, they've spent, I think it's called the Players Alliance. They've spent a lot of money in trying to invest in more outreach in the black communities. I don't know how well they're doing, but I see their efforts. So, and I mean, do you commend their efforts, Chris, or?
So I would say this, it starts at the ground roots level. When I grew up in Inglewood, so if you're talking about pay for play, there was very few people in my neighborhood that could pay for travel ball and all that. So everything starts from there, like even Pop Warner football, all that. You're not going to go to high school and be a 12th grader and beat the kids that have been playing, So I believe that maybe there needs to be more incentive. Maybe there needs to be more monetary funding from the league. Yeah. You start seeing these leagues, like the NFL's going to Europe, because they want to expand the game. Like, I'm just saying, Major League Baseball, to me, and baseball in general, it has lost a large portion of
its American culture.
Yeah, but like you said, there's way more than one Kyler Murray out there.
Yeah. Well, who do we blame? Because we could sit here and say, okay, Major League Baseball is investing a lot more in international ball. And that in itself takes away from our problems or our challenges in our own culture, which is this huge pay-to-play model through travel baseball, showcase baseball, that could possibly be hurting a minority in the culture, the African-American athlete. So do we go at them and say, hey, stop either overly investing outside of our country or equally invest in the same culture or helping to build the same culture here? Because I think it's a cultural problem in the game. And that's what I said on the last podcast. I think, no, it's not coming from the top down. The top needs to say, hey, look, these cultures over here that we're spending more money in than our own self, they're doing it this way, and it's obviously working. So what can we do to change the structure here? Do we have to buy, entities like PBR and Perfect Game and take over this showcase mania and travel ball, or do we just have to better work with them? I mean, don't you think it probably needs to come top down?
Yeah.
With what's going on?
I think you said a lot of good points. I think it comes from top down. Well, let's look at economics. If I'm the head of Major League Baseball and I'm like, dude, we got 10% of African Americans playing, I would just be looking at the money and be like, dude, you know how much money we're losing? Like, we're losing 90%. So right then and there, I'd be like, we need to reinvest in that. Then number two, there obviously you can't say athletically there's no players there. Like, you're going to make more money here. You need to start here. I guess what I'm saying is the NFL started here. Now they're going to Europe. Take care of home first. Let's take care of home, and then let's because I don't know how many tickets is a guy. I'm a big Kenley Jansen fan, but how many tickets is Kirkhouse buying at Dodger Stadium? You get it? Like, so, and I don't want to make it too political, but I just, like I've said, but I've seen it. I've seen a decline.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to build a war here, because then we'll just it'll be Americans against Latinos, or Americans against anyone who's not supporting America. So we do got to be careful how we do this, because I got nothing against the Latin athlete, and I'm sure you don't either.
No, the best. Right. I think the best should. The cream of the crop's going to rise up, and the best should play.
Right. We just need to find a way to, every decision cannot be made on money, and that's. I mean, I think that is being played across everything in our country. We need to stop making decisions purely on money, specifically at a high corporate level, because I think that it erodes into our cultures that we're living in. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you're on it more than me. You live this and you breathe this. I'm looking at your facility. You just showed me a kid from Compton, so you're more on it. I would just give him my stand. Like, I'll give you an example. And when I mean development, I have a friend of mine. So I'm a college track coach, and I tell people this. So I love track and field, but I always tell people track and field's not even my favorite sport, even though I coach it. It's something I'm good at. I said track and field decline, whatever, it's boring, it doesn't pay. And I tell people, if you took 50% of NFL and they ran track, they'd probably be our country's best sprinters. So that's what I'm getting at. If you took, you would have, what I'm saying is, I think baseball has lost the numbers from like NFL, NBA.
I would agree. Yeah.
And that's what I'm getting at. And some kind of way, those numbers need to come back, because they're losing it. So you can't tell me those guys aren't there. And so my whole thing was, I had a friend anyway, just great athlete. So when you go to NFL, they're like, great athlete, or college, we want an athlete. I had a friend, he bench presses 400 pounds. His wife bench pressed 300. They're the fastest guys in school. And I remember them just playing travel. Their son played travel ball. And he's like, man, he hits home runs and this. But every time I would go around them and people, I would even hear the people around them, oh, they're not playing your son. They're not playing this. And I don't know what's going on. I don't want to be that guy, but I'd hear from on one end, man, he hits home runs and this every time he bats. He hits something. But then I'd hear the other end, yeah, but the other kids have been playing for this many years. They paid so I don't know where it's at. And I think that's where I thought your pay for play I wanted to discuss and talk about, because I kind of see that.
Yeah, it's a business.
Totally. Right. Well, that's we need more integrity. We need better leaders in those businesses, because they're obviously just making money decisions. They're not making like cultural, decisions or decisions that are better for the game than just their bottom line, for their pocketbook. That's obvious to me. There's too much of that going on. But I think you're right. I think where you could go in our culture is start when that young African-American's growing up and he starts finding his idols and picking the sports that he likes and wants to identify with, because I think that's where baseball's losing. They're losing at that moment. And we got to figure out, and this needs to be done at a high level and an educational level, studies on this to figure out where the problem is, because I know we'd find it. And I think, it's going to be somewhere of, is it monetary? Is that's what's scaring them away? Or is it just, basketball is doing a better job of building African-American icons. Football is doing a better job building African-American icons, because just like you said with track and field, you know, if you went and pulled athletes, you could hand pick any athlete you want out of the NFL. You could have one of the best track and field, you know, teams in the world and win the Olympics. The same thing has happened into Olympic lifting. I'm a certified USA weightlifter. Olympic lifting, we haven't won a gold medal since 1960 in our country because where are all our lifters? They're in football.
Yes, that's what I'm getting at. Yes,
it's not
that's what I'm trying to say. They're there, but they're in different sports, and we haven't. I had Tyreek Hill from the Chiefs. I mean, from Miami. Okay, so I coached a World Junior team in 2012. He was on my team. And I tell people this, Tyreek ran part-time track, and even that year he was like 3 or 4 in the world. And I say, if you took a guy like that and ran full-time track, and a lot of people go, you're crazy. But I go, no. I go, he ran those times as a part-time guy. So imagine when you put him full-time and you take 10 other NFL guys like that. We'd probably be even faster. It's just the popularity's not there. I'm just saying with baseball, because it's one of the big three, you know, baseball, NBA, and NFL, and I think the talent's there. You know, I've just heard stuff from parents, and they said, hey man, this is a difficult. I've heard parents, at least if they are African American, they live in a majority upper class white neighborhood or community, and they've said it's very hard to navigate this private baseball club system, and that's the part I don't know. I only get the athletes say, "Hey, coach, get me to go fast," but that's what I said. You can't tell me they're not out there.
No, I believe that's it, and that's when that young African American's growing up and he makes that decision. Is that the problem? And then we do need to address that problem and deal with that. I mean, that's a problem I'd like to address, because I think that's not just hurting the African Americans. I think it's even hurting the rich white kids, because it's not a smart decision. And that's why I was saying earlier, the last podcast, that we're losing into the Latin culture game, you know, the how they play the game. So the point is this, you know, you can say like upper class, predominantly Caucasian, showcase travel environment. I don't even think it's good for those people. No,
it's not. That's what I'm getting. Should it be more like, if you talked about other countries, and I've been to other countries with track and just traveling, you go to other countries and the soccer's developed. You go to Costa Rica and they got, is it we need more academies around every city and country? Is it, what do we need to do at the grassroots level?
We got to somehow glorify it, and we've got to glorify it, because like we've obviously, in this baseball culture, we've found a way to entice players by giving them the prize young, because they grow up with the idols and they see the idols getting the big prize. And then we've gotten creative to create similar leagues, showcase leagues, and create the same feeling for the prize at a young age. So it's like, why wait till I'm 23 to win a big league World Series? I'm just going to go win a little league World Series and have that experience in the next 2 years. And it's that instant gratification. I think it's corrupting, and I think it's corrupted our game locally.
Well, what you said is actually phenomenal. The minor leagues makes it hard. I'll say that, but you know, we're not even getting there. Like that's what people said to Kyler Murray. Oh, he'll make this. I go, no, he'll make more money as a quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals he'll ever make in baseball. But I said, number two, who wants to sit in that minor league bus for?
Right, exactly.
You know, even if you're on a fast track.
Right.
But
right.
I also look at guys like Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders, and I know how athletes work and how phenomenal you are if you get them. Like Deion Sanders was not ready to be a Major League Baseball player. The Yankees fast-tracked him. You know why? Because he was phenomenal. They were like, man, this dude, as long as he can get on base, he can do this. So these athletes are just out there. And then I think they need I think there's a whole generation that we've missed, and we just got to identify them. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, you're right.
I love all the players. I love all the Dodgers. I don't care what race they are. I go to all the games. Right. But
yeah, you just don't want to see a significant part of our baseball culture. I mean, the Negro leagues are just as historic and iconic as the old original baseball. You know, when during segregation, those Negro leagues need to be glorified and brought out and talk about those legends, and then how that's produced the legends of today. I think baseball, to be honest, could do better with that.
Yeah, right. I mean, they've got the Kansas City Museum. They're doing good there. I mean,
Right.
the Satchel Paige, the Bob Gibson. Kansas City's actually done a very good job with that African American Negro leagues. I have a client. I think he said his uncle or grandfather was one of the guys that founded it. But
I actually went to the one in Kansas City and ran into, what was his name? One of the old Negro League players, Buck.
But yeah. I know who you're talking about. I remember. And
God, he legend. He was just in the parking lot. I ran up to him, got a picture with him. I'll never forget. That was a long time ago. He's passed since then.
yeah,
But yeah, we need more of that. We need definitely in TV or in, out in the media, we need to see the old history and how it's evolved to the new African American player today. I think that would be a very significant, because that's what you have to do. You have to create the idols. You got to create the history, the legends. And if we don't create those legends, then the kids don't grow up and get excited and want to identify with it and be that. Because I have yet to see anyone extremely successful never say or tell the story of the moment they were like, that's who I want to be. And it was purely related to them seeing an icon in action or hearing the legacy of that person. And then they self-identifying, and then that started their road to their own iconic greatness, So if we don't create that and we don't put that out there, of course, we're not going to capture the next generation of great African-American players. And I think that's what we got to do better,
I think the best thing I've seen in LA is, and maybe it's by default, but Mookie Betts being in Los Angeles, they put him on billboards. I go to Dodger Stadium, I see more African Americans there. It makes me happy,
Yeah.
But you need guys like that. Like,
Totally.
Like you said, you had Ken Griffey, but like I tell people, I said, there's two superstars in LA. I said, they're LeBron James and Mookie Betts. And I said, LeBron's ahead. I said the Dodgers and the Lakers are about as big as each other. You can say who's bigger or not. But I said, you got to have these kids see him. Like I grew up with Darryl Strawberry or all those guys.
And they got to see them growing up in the same environment they're in.
Yes.
And it makes them feel like, well, he did it, I'm going to do it, because they're seeing that with football players. They're seeing that with basketball players. I don't think they're seeing that with baseball players.
And that's what I'm getting at. I don't think they've seen it with theirs. So I think they're getting started, and I think they're making some good changes. They, I'm not going to get into politics of the 20-second pitch clock, but I've been in 3 or 4 Dodger games this year, and the games go much faster. And if you're a younger kid and all that, you're used to a fast NFL game or a fast NBA game, it makes it much more. It makes you be like, oh, I like it much better than I would just sit Dodger Stadium for a 5-hour game, and I see it, So I think they're making some changes. My question is, how do we get more of the masses of all races to play? I just think we're missing it from all races.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I remember Gary Vaynerchuk. You ever heard of Gary V?
I'm not sure.
He's a big marketing company, but he also has an athletic agency, Vayner Sports, and he always talks about he's big on social media. He always talks about how if he bought he's always wanted to buy the Jets, and if he bought the Jets, what he would do to create a resurgence of this new fan base, this explosion of a bigger fan base. And he said he would literally send a Jets jersey to every child in New York, right? He literally, major expense, but he said, because he said when he was a kid, when he got that first jersey, he identified. It's like, that's when they're in those impressionable years.
Yes.
They've got to see the stories. They got to see the legacies. They got to see the legends, and they got to see it in their own culture and their own neighborhood, in their own lifestyle. And if they don't see that, you're going to struggle in the future to have, that growth of, a player that you're trying to reach,
No, I absolutely agree. Like I said, I tell people, I grew up Davy Lopes, stealing home in the World Series. Like I remember,
Right.
like I saw these guys, and I think this generation of, like I said, I'm 48, you're 46. I would say the 20-year below us, at least on the African American level, you had Ken Griffey Jr., but you didn't have much else.
Yeah.
So, and even with Ken Griffey, he was quiet. It was almost a mute. He was a muted superstar. He was the best, but it was like, So I just think is it's a great game. I love it. I'm a fan, and I'd like to see just the sport invest more off, I guess what you said, the money ball and the development of whatever cities or whatever, just so the masses could get out there. Because when I hear finance is the reason they don't play, that's where it's like, okay.
Yeah, and I definitely think that's an easy fix if it's finances, but so that's top down. They've got to invest. But I think there's going to have to be a real shift in changing our culture and how we develop players, how we develop races of players, the demographic of players. I'm sure we could go around the country and find just dark spots in the country where baseball doesn't even exist.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if Major League Baseball is even paying attention to that. They're out there around the world, bringing baseball around the world, and we could have huge dark spots in our country where nobody's playing the game.
Yeah, I also think you said something too. I think I'm for multi-sport athletes, even though I've coach. I am significantly for multi-sport athletes. I think when you have the football guys running track or the football guys playing baseball, it brings a lot more exciting. People are excited about Kyler Murray getting drafted. He was a part-time baseball player.
Dude, to be honest, I think something needs to happen where either there's a like an investment group. I'm trying to think, like, how would this happen where the money is? But maybe there's an investment group between NFL and Major League Baseball that actually works to connect them to where they actually incentivize teams to offer contracts across sports and try to pull some players from the NFL to the baseball, specifically African American, to help, bring attention to Major League Baseball and that player to Major League Baseball. I think that it could be probably done in those leagues working together through, because that's money for this player. What NFL player who feels healthy enough and athletic enough that he's like, man, I could go play baseball when football is over.
Absolutely
and make an extra $10 million. Hell yeah, I'll do that.
Well, yeah, that's the whole Deion. That's the whole, and that's where I get back. Bo Jackson and Deion, they were major league guys who you say were stars or high profile. They were incomplete baseball players. They were much better at football, but they were so good and athletic. And people showed up at the park. Like, I didn't like the Atlanta Braves, but if Deion was on, man, I want to watch Deion.
Exactly. It was so cool. But I don't know. It might bring up a question. Is the game both games? Is the game the caliber of game of today? Is it so much better that's asking too much? I don't know. Can Deion and Bo dominate today? I think they would. I was so impressed by them back then. I think they could, but what do you think? You think they could?
I think Deion Sanders and Bo Jackson are going to dominate no matter what era you put them in. I don't know 100 years from now, but I'm saying, yeah, I'm just like you. I'm like, yes, absolutely. And that's what I meant about being an athlete. You want the best athletes. The best athletes, no matter what you do, when you put them in a sport, they become better. So you say Deion and Bo, they're raw athletes. They're really good. Football, you can be a lot better, I guess, for a raw athlete. You don't need as, baseball, I will say, that's right. You need a lot more hits. You need a lot more stuff. But like even those guys who were part-time baseball players, the fact that as a part-time player, they could go play at a high level in the major league shows when you're a phenomenal athlete, what you can bring to that sport. And I want to see the best athletes out there who can play.
Right. And I think that's what's happened in our baseball culture. We believe the cultures.
I don't want to see fat guys.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to see a bunch of fat dudes that can't run, and all that. I feel like this out there.
And I feel like our culture almost glorifies that more than a multi-sport athlete. And maybe that's why I think a multi-sport athlete, a bunch of them would help today, because these kids would be like, wow, man, this athleticism has a lot to do with this. And then all of a sudden they go, well, why am I playing so much? Let me train. There needs to be a big shift there, because I think you create that bigger focus here. Say tomorrow, we could turn baseball in this culture into more of a focus on player development as opposed to play. I think all this has opportunity now. I think more African Americans have opportunity now. You're right. I think that's the shift that I want to happen, obviously, because I would profit from that. I'm not going to be, I'm not going to lie to you, but I still, even if I wasn't in the business, I'd still say that's a way healthier move for our culture of baseball. And I believe that opens up more possibility to bring the African American player in, because that's where kids are really built and talent's built. We're just right now with these travel organizations, Showcase Ball, it's like a crapshoot. You're just throwing a bunch of talent out there and you're hoping, well, whoever doesn't, have surgery by the time they're 15, he's going to have a chance, or whoever doesn't get burned out by the time he's 14, he might stick. That's a crappy way to build a culture of baseball or any sport.
Yeah, you said it. I mean, I have tons. I used to have more, but I've had tons of baseball clients, private clients, and most of it with me was get them athletic, get them fast, get them fast for 60. They got to run a fast 60. But I remember I had clients and they play games and games and games, and I'd be training the kids, and the parents would be like, "How are they doing?" I'm like, "They're not doing good." "What do you mean they're not doing good?" "I bring them to you once a week." I said, "They play games every day. When you bring them to me, they're tired. I can't develop them." And I would tell the parents just what you said, Brent. I'd say, you need to spend about 60 to 70% of your time training and 30% of the time playing. And I say, you're spending 90% of the time playing and 10% training. I say, your kid's going to wash out. And I have plenty of kids that washed out because they'd be like, "No, we just got to play." I'm like, you don't get better playing. And that's where I come up with the Bo Jackson, Deion, the athletes. The athletes can come in and have less time, less reps. Kyler Murray can come in at 20% of the time and be a first-round draft pick because he's training, and that's—
But people don't understand that. For some reason, that doesn't click in the layman's perspective. That's a more—
what do boxers do? They spar. What do and I tell people, NFL players train year around 24/7 for these 16 games. You nailed it. You can't convince me otherwise because I'm in the business and I see it. I do it.
Right.
So,
well, you actually have a better perspective because you're not corrupted. You're not so much of an insider in baseball, which it literally corrupts you to what it takes to really develop athleticism. You have a better perspective. Actually, we need more people like you that want to stick their head in baseball and go, "Hey guys, what are y'all doing?"
Mm-hmm. They're not developing their talent. They're not. And I know you got to hit all these balls. I got to hit. I got to pitch. I got to do this. I get it, but you still got to run. You got to keep getting better.
You got to jump. You got to throw.
Yes. Dude, do you understand?
And the crazy thing, because I'm in the strength conditioning world. When I talk to strength and conditioning coaches that are coming up, and they're like, "Oh, I can coach football. I mean, I can take football guys. I can take basketball guys. I can take track and field guys. I can take golfers." But once it's like, "Can you take baseball?" they stop and they're like, yeah, I can take them, or I don't like taking them. It's the one sport where it's almost like the coaches of the athletes are like, "Yeah, I don't know if I want to go in there," because they know the politics of it. It's one of the most corrupted sports when it comes to development, because it's so more on the end of skill development than it is on athletic development. It's one of the only sports, even amongst other sports like golf, that are just as much a skill as it is athleticism,
Yeah. No, you nailed it with that one. You really did. And no, thanks, Brent. I appreciate all your—
yeah, same here, Chris, man. I really appreciate it. I think we share a lot in common, and I think that was a great discussion. I mean, what do you think, Alexander?
Yeah, I really loved it, hearing both of you guys, veteran guys who have been in this business, seen sports for such a long time, give your experiences and knowledge and insights. Has really helped me a lot because I'm much of a younger guy, like I'm almost half your guys' age. So it's definitely been nice being a sponge, hearing all this information.
Well, awesome, man.
Brent, I'll reach out to you later. I'll let me get your information. Just talk. Maybe when I'm
Definitely.
in Louisiana, I'm gonna go fishing before I get there for the wedding. So
Yeah, come by, man. I'd love to show you around, and I can tell you all the good fishing holes. But also, I go.
yeah, we're gonna try. No, but love to it, and I love your take on it, because you don't know how many parents I hear this from. You know, I've had parents, coaches from UCLA, their kids play baseball, and they'll say, "Man, my man," they'll tell me, "Yo, coach, they telling me my son can't play at this school." And I know, you know, if you got a college coach, look, I'm a college coach. If my son is not as good as you, I'm gonna tell you. That's how I am. But when I hear coaches say, "Man, they're telling me this dude is better than my son," and it's like, "Coach, listen, I know it's my son, but I know who's good or not." You know, that's where I'm like, this sport is just. I think it's more, you know, politic than, like you said, pay for play, and we got to get away from that.
Totally.
You have that track back. You have that track background, Chris. So you definitely kept that pure heart.
I'll leave you guys with this. As a head coach, there were one year I had a guy that was top 20 in the country. I recruited, and I had a walk-on. The walk-on didn't know anything, and long story short, the walk-on beat the top 20 guy in the country. Do you know who I ran? I ran my walk-on and beat the top 20 guy. I didn't care. Yeah, and I told the scholarship guy, this dude showed up and beat you.
Yeah, right.
And it's clear. That's the one thing I do like about track. And I say that is, you know, hey, what did he run? What did you run? You know, I don't want to hear, oh, well, he can't hit this. No. Just let's cut. So anyway, what I'm getting is, I've always been like, I'm going to play the best guy. I don't know if baseball's there. Maybe I'll say, Brent, is baseball there? I guess I would say that. So if you're in a travel circuit, I would say I don't think they play the best, at least the whole level. Maybe I'm wrong. You know, and I think in most sports, you better play the best or you're gonna get fired.
I mean, you're right. It's tricky, but you're right. No, I think there's a lot of guys that it makes me think. I think there's all the time. I think there's a lot of Barry Bonds level players, you know, Nolan Ryan level players, my era, that never played the game. I'm just so curious if we'd have just taken everyone and gave them a chance, you know, how much different the game or the icons in the game would it be? We probably had a whole new group of people that they weren't picked because, like you said, it's too political.
Yeah.
It's a very subjective sport. You know, you could be a stellar player and then the higher ups can definitely pick someone else and they're not breaking any rules in doing so. But yeah, it's pretty biased and it's very subjective.
Well, I'll leave this. I love the game. It's a great game. I think it's getting better. I've seen the inner city leagues. I've seen them, you know, reinvesting. But I do think in general there needs to be a wholehearted effort. Let the best players play. That's going to make the game grow more. That's going to make the game, you know, that's going to make the game grow more. Just on an African American level, I want to see 10 Mookie Betts. I don't want to see one. I don't want to see one black guy in the World Series. That's crazy to me. You can't tell me there should be only one. And that's not a racist or anything comment. That's just, you can't tell me they're not out there. That just shows we got to clean this up so that we can get the best of the best out there, you know.
Right. And it needs to be more people that care about that issue, not just so much about the financial and the monetary issues. You know, it really is going to take a group that cares and can do something about it, you know.
All right.
This is a great podcast. Thank you so much again for both of you guys for sharing a lot of insights and knowledge. So thank you guys both again for taking the time to do it.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you guys.